Good morning, everyone. I had to start over. Hope everybody's doing all right. This is Mark from Cedar Creek Bottoms Farmstead with another fireside chat. It's 7:13 now in the morning. I'm on my way home from work. Done my shift. About 41 degrees this morning. Nice and sunny. Last few days been pretty cool. I'm coming down Highway Alabama 235, which comes from Talladega to the town of Childersburg that I live fairly close to. I'm going to talk to you about two sightings from Childersburg that were very close to downtown Childersburg, and also I'm going to give you a little history of Childersburg. But first, I hope everybody had a good weekend. Me and Rebecca got out, went to St. Pam Tillis concert last week in Oxford. Went up Saturday to the Pine Heart Farm Days, and then went up to Falkville to a tractor show that some of my friends had some tractors in. Yeah, I do love Farm-All tractors. I like all tractors. Farm-All, of course, my favorite. And they had the Alabama chapter of International Harvester Club there. And we came back by and visited with Greg and Wanda and Abby and Mr. Al. Had a good visit with them. Came on home Saturday night, got up Sunday and went down to FDR Roosevelt, which is Roosevelt State Park in Georgia. Pine Mountain, as they called it, right there at Callaway Gardens. Mr. Dale with Boogerville and his friend Mark put on a meet and greet. Bigfoot meet and greet, Bigfoot meet and greet, let's put it that way. Heard some very good encounters that people had. I think he had a good turnout. Heard some very good stories, and people giving their encounters and stuff that's happened throughout the years. A lot of them right there in the West Georgia area, close to the Alabama line, up and down. I think most people were from that area. I know one guy I think was from Savannah, but most of them were from the West Georgia area, like LaGrange down toward Columbus, on down toward I think that's Thomasville, Georgia. And some of them even talked about some stuff they knew about happening in Alabama across the river in different places. So it was good to see Mr. Dale again, and met some new people, and hope to be able to talk to them some more. West Georgia has some interest for me because I'm not far from it, and I know there's a lot of Bigfoot activity and other activity on that side of that Chattahoochee River, and so I look forward. Maybe I think Mr. Dale is going to have another one next year, so I hope some of us Alabama folks and some of the rest of us can support him and go to that. If you're ever down in that next country, Pine Mountain, Georgia is a very beautiful place, and Cypress Gardens is right there to it. So nice camping, a very nice state park, and they have boogers there at that state park because one of the guys putting that on with Mr. Dale is a forest ranger, knows all about them. So it's pretty cool when you got a government official that openly talks about it. So that's pretty good. Most of them clam up when it goes on. So I'm coming close into Childersburg, and like I said, it's a back way. Right now I'm going by what used to be the Army ammunition property from World War II and Korea and Vietnam. This is where the heavy water was made for the atomic bomb for World War II. It was used on the two bombs in Japan. This was big outfit. The Army was very present here even when I was younger. They shut this plant down in the 70s and started dismantling it. And there was Army presence here pretty much to the 80s. They came in, burned a lot of the soil. Now they have turned most of the property over to the city of Childersburg. And I think a couple of private people have bought some of it. And then, of course, the paper mill that we're going to go by here in a minute also bought some of the property years ago. So, in fact, there was a plant here that made rayon for during World War II. That plant shut down, I think, in the 70s. Also, a Childersburg paper mill, or it used to be Childersburg, one of the bigger paper mill companies. At one time, they owned about 400,000 acres in Alabama. And we're going by the old Bonet Mill site now. Most of it's tore down. A lot of it's growing up. They've tried to make an industrial park out here. But there has been booger sightings from this, I heard, through other people, but never got to talk to the witnesses direct. The other thing, the river, Coosa River, is right over here on the right side of me. And we'll get closer to Childersburg. I will probably put the handheld where I can show you where several sightings took place at. I'm going to just pull off the road there and show you. Childersburg has two controversial history it goes on. The first one is Childersburg claims to be the oldest European known settlement in North America, or the United States. Let's put it the United States. They claim that because DeSoto, when he was coming through in the 1400s, had they claim come to Childersburg because of the Indian town of Coosa, which was supposed to have been one of the biggest Indian villages in the southeast at that time period. It's supposed to have been the Kingdom of Coosa, which would later on probably become some of the Creeks Indians. We have a lot of historians think the Creeks actually came out of Mexico. They came in here and started intermarrying with the local natives, which have different names, which were Coosa, the Alabamians, the Tallapoosians. There's a bunch of littler, smaller tribes. And of course, what happened was when they came in, they formed a confederacy and really called it the Creek Indians. And the Creek name actually comes from Europeans because most of them lived on creeks. And one reason Childersburg bases that claim, excuse me, is that, and we're fixing to come up by the paper mill, and it's foggy this morning too up through here. Y'all see I'm passing log trucks and everything else. So, according to DeSoto's records, when he left Childersburg, he left a sick soldier and his servant. Well, when they discovered where and we're going to go right by where that village was. When they discovered where this village was, they out at University of Alabama done a lot of, digs there, archaeological digs. Y'all had to excuse me. Well, they ended up finding some Spanish stuff. They found some Spanish coins, some Spanish utensils, I think a helmet, a Spanish helmet, some what they say were Spanish type clothing. Also, they found hog bones, and y'all have to know that the Spaniards was the ones that brought hogs into North America. And I think when they done the carbon dating on them, the hog bones went back to in the 1500s. So, now of course, St. Augustine claims they're the oldest. So them and Childersburg have a little battle. I think the U.S. government had a commission on that. They called it the DeSoto Commission, and they never did really. I think both of them are tied, really. The other controversy, a lot of people said the Coosa village was not located here, but by what was told in the DeSoto records that he kept, or his soldiers, or whoever kept his records, the village was located on a bluff between two big creeks with a hill to the back side of them too. Well, this spot fits that spot. Also, because Georgia wants to claim it too, somewhere up above Rome. So there's the two controversies. It's really interesting. But the Coosa River does start in Rome, Georgia, before two rivers meet, and they form the Coosa, and it comes all the way down, and of course dumps into the Alabama River in Montgomery. So, in fact, we're coming right here to where the Indian village was. We're crossing Talladega Creek, which is the second biggest creek in Talladega County. And right over here, about a half a mile, is Talladega Creek, which is the third biggest creek in Talladega County. Both of them come out of the Talladega National Forest and dump into the Coosa, so they come all the way across Talladega County. They get bigger and bigger because more and more creeks are coming into them. So, and right in here, and right on the top of this plateau where I'm at right now, is where the Indian village was supposed to. Well, they knew it was one here, ain't no doubt. But there's controversy if it was the Coosa one or not. We also know 4 miles to the southeast was another big Indian village towards Chicago, and they done a lot of digs there. But they estimated in this area at one time there was around 10,000 Indians living, Native Americans living just right here in this area. So besides the Army ammunition plant being here during World War II, the soda coming through here, the side of the Coosa village being here, also the grist mill I've told y'all about. Also, there's a cave that's real famous here. It was called the Soda Cave. Now it's called Majestic Cave. Now I'm going to cross Talladega Creek, which is the third largest creek in Talladega County. Alright, so we're going to turn and go down here to where a couple of these sightings were from, and I'm going to tell you a little about them. Maybe the law won't run me off sitting on the side of the road a minute. And no, I didn't put the handheld on, but I think y'all can see some of the what I'm going by and all that. Down here, I may take it off and show it to you a little better. And we're only downtown Childersburg is right yonder. So, all right. So I told you a little history. This is where my mother was raised, which, you know, back up at the grist mill. Then later on, they moved here to Childersburg. My great grandfather owned a grist mill down here, and a John Deere implement back yonder, and a livery stable. So, y'all can tell there's a big cotton field over here to my left, and over here to my right is a neighborhood. And I'm gonna drive down here and then probably turn around and come back a minute. But right here, on the right side where these trees start from this little field right here, where this little branch, or wet weather branch, crosses the road, is a sighting from there in 2010, excuse me. Prior to that, 2 months prior to that, there was something else going on here. And then there's been tales of other people seeing stuff, but I was not able to contact those. But I did get to talk to 4 individuals about what they saw here. So I'm gonna turn around real quick, and we'll go back down through here, and I'll maybe pull off a minute and talk about it for a second. Maybe the law won't mess with me this morning. This road gets pretty busy. So let's go back down here. All right. So y'all tell it's in cotton right now. At that time, I'll go ahead and tell you, during that time, this field was in corn. This is a big field. I'm going to say easily 70, 80 acres in this field, maybe 100. The creek borders it all the way on the other side, that Tallahatchie Creek. So, all right, let me get right down here and pull off a minute. I'm going to pull off right here where this went on. Maybe I won't get stuck. So, all right, let's talk about this real quick for a minute. Maybe I'll keep everybody off of me. Sorry about the alarm going off a minute. All right. So, what I'm going to tell you, and I got this from a friend of mine that I used to work with. He knew I was into Bigfoot. I ran into him in Walmart in 2010. We were talking, and he said, hey, you might need to check about some Bigfoot sightings going on in Childersburg. Well, what he didn't know was I already knew about one up here. But I didn't say nothing. But he said, so this is how the story goes. He said there's 3 guys that working at the paper mill. They had to go across the river to check the pumps at the settling ponds. But at the time, the state of Alabama was redoing one of the bridges over here at the railroad. So they couldn't go straight to the 4-lane on 235. They had to cut through here. So I said, okay. He said, well, they seen something come out of this ditch right here. And it was on off, it was out on 4, it was off on, can't he talk this morning? It was on all 4s when it came out, but when it started up the ditch, it stood up on 2 legs. As they got even with it right here about where this branch is, they all seen it. They claimed, and I did interview all 3 guys. And I called them individually and talked to them, and they all gave me the same story. The driver said he noticed he didn't know what it was at first. He thought it was maybe a big dog on all 4s, comes out of the corn, starts walking right there, and they ride probably right in there about where this car is fixing to be. Right in there. He said he sees it. It stands up on 2 legs as the incline starts. Well, about that time, they're even with it. The driver gets a very good look at it. The middle guy does. The guy on the passenger side couldn't see it as well. As he goes by, this thing walks on across the road, and he throws his brakes on, so the brake lights light up. And that's when the passenger was able to turn around real good and see the figure, and it was still on 2 legs. All 3 guys estimated around 7 foot tall. And they said it went down in that ditch, what they could tell. They went right down there where I just turned around, came back, stopped in here, didn't see nothing. Now, what these guys did, they reported this to the Childersburg Police Department, what they saw. They said the police came out here and looked around. They met them here, showed them where this come out, went in there. All right. So like I told you, I talked to all 3 guys. They were willing to talk to me. But what they were doing at the time, they had been on shift. They were millwrights. Part of their job was to go over on the other side of the river, because they have some settling ponds and have ponds over there, and they go over there once a shift and check the pumps and make sure everything's working correctly. And they don't go by themselves. They don't send nobody by themselves. So that's what they were going to do. So this was around 11:30 at night. I think they had came on shift at 11, and it was around 11:30 they went to check. Also, they notified their supervisor that they'd seen something, and they were waiting on the police to come, and he told them to wait on them. I think all 3 individuals was telling me the truth. They said it was a brownish color, around 7 foot tall. Also, it had a monkey looking face. The driver and the middle guy both got a good looking face. Passenger didn't, but they said it had a monkey looking face. Of course, it stopped right here at the road, so they didn't really get to see the gate on it. The passenger, the guy sitting on the passenger side who turned around to look, he couldn't see it, because of the tailgate of the truck, the waist or anything. All he could see, was pretty much the, probably from the stomach up. So he couldn't really tell how it walked. Now, the police said somebody was probably playing a practical joke. Possibility. I mean, this was in July. Corn was up, already toffling. 11:30 at night. A lot of people having to use this road because of the bridge out. So, that makes sense. It could be a hoax. It could be some teenagers, summertime, they're out of school. But what they didn't know, and what I did not tell till later on, that I'd done come up here and worked a sighting right in that little neighborhood right here to the left right here. So now here's how this went. About 2 months prior to that, which the corn would have probably been maybe shin deep, that would have been in early May, and then the other part would have been in July, so 2 months apart. How I found out about this was through another person that I know that knew I was into Bigfoot. Now, by then, a lot of people around this area knew I was, researching and investigating Bigfoot. I mean, you know how talk gets around in small towns. It got around pretty quick. So I had to be real careful when people called me to make sure people wasn't trying to, hoax me or pull my leg. Hate to do that, but I mean, it's kind of the way you have to do things. All right, so anyway, this guy that I know calls me and tells me, he said, hey, a friend of mine's mother has been seeing something come up behind her house at night. And it's been on her porch a couple of times. I said, okay. I said, you think she'll talk to me? He said, yes, she wants to talk to somebody about it because she don't know what to do about it, because she's done called the Childersburg Police Department about it, and they've come out, and of course they think it's a prowler. I said, okay. So I called the lady. I come up here. I asked her, can I come? She says, yes, you may come. I come up here, and I sit down and talk with her. Okay. So this is what the lady tells me. She said one night, and she's a widow, lives by herself, her son and none of them, they live pretty close by. She's a widow. She's got neighbors. Her house is the third house going in. So she's got a house, and these houses are close. But her house does back up to these woods right here, to the left, right here. So anyway, she begins to tell me what went on first. One night, she is washing dishes. She has some cats, and she feeds them on the back porch. She hears a big racket on the back porch. She thinks a dog is out there probably trying to run the cats off, because she just had been out there 10 minutes before that. Went and fed the cats, come in and started washing dishes. She hears this commotion on the back porch. So she thinks a dog is up trying to, because she sits the cat food up on she'd built some kind of little shelf, she took and, nailed it up kind of up high and put the cat food, kind of keep it away from other things. Well, she hears this commotion, and so she thinks it's dogs, so she walks right to the door, throws the light on, opens the door, and then she sees what she claimed was something about 6 or 7 foot tall jump off the porch on 2 legs, kind of brownish color, same color as these 3 guys seen, and take off over these woods. Scared her half to death. She shuts the door, calls the law. They come out, look around, don't find nothing. They tell her it's probably a prowler, and they're going to keep patrol regular. All right. So everything's quiet for a couple of weeks. Don't hear nothing. She don't notice nothing out of the ordinary except her cats are eating a lot of food. But we'll get to that in a minute. Around 2 weeks later, around about the same time of night, and this is around about 9, because she's widowed and she stays up 11, 12 o'clock watching TV. Retired, so she's not worried about work or any of that stuff. So, she's in the living room. Here's commotion on the back porch again. Well, this time, her son had left a .38 with her. And she gets up real quietly, eases toward the back of the house into her kitchen. Well, this time she don't open the door. She's got 2 double windows on one side of the room, and she has a freezer there. If you know a lot, way back on, a lot of people kept the freezers in their kitchen. So her freezer's in front of those 2 windows. So she gets over there and kind of peeps out, and she can see a figure there eating cat food. And of course, she eases back in the living room, calls the law. Of course, when the law pulls up, this thing probably took off. It's something I forgot to tell you about the first time she seen it. And this was very important, and I'm sorry I forgot to say this. That first time when she swung open the door and turned on the light, when this thing went to jump off the porch, his forehead hit the bottom 2x4 of the roof. Left a little impression. I had a picture of that. Now, of course, it's gone now because it was on that computer, of course, that disappeared, that got wiped out in 2013. Oh boy, here comes a pretty old car coming down the road. Sorry to change subject. Y'all get to see it in just a minute. Looks like a 50-something model, maybe Plymouth or something. But here it comes. Oh yeah, beautiful car, beautiful car. It just takes you back in time, don't it? So that was very important. Now, when I came, I seen the impression. I took a picture of it. Was no hair in it. I looked all over for hair. I checked the porch for hair, and I couldn't find no hair. Now, after that happened, she started leaving the back porch light on, and I think the law started hanging out in here real regular. Of course, they started telling her it was some kids pranking. She said when that thing hit that 2x4, it jarred that whole back porch. And she said if that had been a teenager, it'd about knocked them out, and they'd been right there in the floor. She said this, when it hit, it didn't make a sound, didn't do nothing. It just, it hit the ground. I mean, on 2 legs, and still ran off to the woods. I'm gonna go ahead and pull off because it's getting busy right here. So, all right. Well, there was some other sightings in this area, but I could not verify them. Right over here on the creek. Creek's on the back side of this cotton field. Guy parked right down here where the railroad crosses, and there's a way you can walk right down the creek and fish. A lot of people fish there. He claimed that what I heard now, I didn't get to talk to him myself. I tried to call him, couldn't never get in touch with him, but what he told some people, and it came to me, he came down here one evening fishing by himself, because you can walk right out there on the railroad to the creek, and there's a trestle, and a lot of people fish right down in there. He walked right out there. He was fishing right at dark. He heard something down the creek a little piece from him. He got to looking, and he said that a something on 2 legs, hairy, stepped out onto the bank. He was looking at it, and then it turned and looked at him. As soon as it seen him, it turned and went right back up into the woods. Of course, scared him half to death. He packs up and leaves. So but I couldn't ever verify that. So I don't know. I really don't know. So I got a log truck pulled over or something down here. So there is two instances, or three, excuse me, of something going on. So, yeah, it could have been a prank. It could have been a prank. There could have been somebody that's around 7 foot tall running around with a costume in the middle of summer trying to scare people after death. But I never heard no other sighting from the road. The other sightings were on somebody's back porch and over on the creek. Now later on, a friend of mine who was a Bigfoot researcher, Adam, y'all have heard me mention his name, he loves to kayak. I know he's not gonna mind me telling this because it's the truth. He decided that him and a buddy of his was gonna kayak here on that Tisatcha Creek. And they come right down here. There's a boat ramp right down there. I just went right by it, right there about where the lawman had the trucks pulled over at. And I'm gonna go right out here. We're gonna go down the Hollywood boat ramp a minute. Then we'll turn around and come back. Right here by a school too. This is all where the Indian village used to be. This whole area, when they was building the school, they said they found tons of stuff. So that school's built right on top of a Indian village. All this industry, all this in here is where the Indian village used to be. And you can kind of tell it sits up on a hill. There's a big hill behind us too. But anyway, him and the other guy, they started kayaking. They went up the creek toward Highway 76, which between that road and 76 is a good mile or so. There's some fields on the other side of the creek, but there's also a patch of woods in there. They get up there about where those patch of woods are, and he swears up and down he heard a wood knock come from them woods, and then they heard what sounded like limbs being broke. Well, they went on up the creek. They come back about the same place again. They heard wood knocks, and they started hearing limbs tear up. So this is Hollywood Boat Launch. It's where Talladega Creek is. It's the creek that comes by the grist mill, and pretty good sized creek. You can see down in there some. Water's down a good bit. They got laid down pretty good right now. I don't know if they're doing some work on something somewhere or what. Yeah, oh yeah, they got it. Oh yeah, it's way down. It's down about 5 or 6 foot. Anyway, so with all that being said, and of course I did hear of another sighting on the creek from another fisherman, but I could not verify that. So there's two I couldn't verify because I could not speak to the witnesses themselves. It was hearing it from somebody else. But I did ask the lady who had the one on the back porch, and she said around 7 foot tall, and that indention was pretty good in that 2x4. You can see he hit it square, buddy. I'm talking about he hit it hard. And I wish I had the pictures of that. The lady's deceased now. I know she passed away around 2018. And the family, sold the house. And so I probably can no longer, have access to that. I did ask the lady, was other neighbors having problems? She didn't know, but she was going to ask. I asked her, was it, a bunch of loose dogs or cats in the neighborhood? She said a lot of people had dogs and cats, and there had been some missing cats because people were looking for cats. So, of course, could have been a coyote too, or something else, another dog. But so I kept in touch with this lady for a little while, and she never had another problem she knew of. And she never did hear any of the neighbors say anything. Or, you know, if something happened, they just kept their mouth shut. I don't know. Now, I went into deep, of course, like I told you, I talked to the 3 guys that worked at the paper mill. You know, I talked to 2 of them by phone and then met one of them in person out here where it happened at. He agreed to meet me there and show me exactly where it was. Now the lady, I will say this before I forget, the lady never seen its face good. When she jerked open the door and threw the porch light on, it done turned and was heading off the porch when it hit its head. She just seen the back of its head. She did say it didn't have much of a neck, what she could see, and it was full of hair. She couldn't tell me much more about it because it was a split second, scared her half to death. And then something like that, it's going to scare you half to death. You're not going to be, you know, so. Second time, she just, you know, it was dark. She could just see the silhouette. And, you know, so that's all I got from that. So, anyway, so, you know, during that time, me and Mr. Bill White was talking. Because, you know, me and Keith were doing investigations, research, and, you know, giving him the information. And then he would, you know, write it up, you know, and give it to Mike, and they would publish it on AlabamaBigfoot.com. I wish that site was still available. I really do, because we could go right there and look at it, the pictures and everything. Because those pictures did go to Mr. Tall. Pictures of this area, the pictures of the indention on the back porch. So, you know, it's pretty interesting. All right. So when I let Mr. Tall know about it and what was going on, especially after we got the second report from these guys here, or the third report from these guys here, he told me, he said, well, call the Childersburg Police Department and see if they'll talk to you about it. So, okay. So I called down there. Told them who it was and what I was calling them about. Well, I guess the dispatcher or whoever it was said, wait a minute, and I'll get, you know, one of the officers to come talk to you. So I said, okay. I can't remember his name. I think he was a sergeant. I think he called himself Sergeant. Well, he, you know, comes the phone. I tell him who I am, tell him what I'm calling about, and asked him, you know, is there a report on it? Could I, you know, get some information on it? Well, he wasn't real happy to talk to me. He said, well, no, I don't really want to talk about it. And he said, number 2, it was a prank. It was some kids pranking. And I said, well, how you know it was kids pranking? Did you catch them? And he got quiet a minute. He said, I ain't got nothing further else to say about it. I said, well, okay. So I called Mr. Tall back, or Mr. Bill. And I said, well, they don't want to talk to me about it. He said, okay. He said, I told him kind of how he acted. He said, yeah. He said, that's typical sometimes. He said, well, I tell you what, you know, me being a ex-sheriff investigator, let me call. He said, let me tell him who I am, and might talk to me a little more about me being ex-law enforcement. I said, okay. So a few days later, I get a call back from Mr. Tall, and he said, you right. He said, this is what he said. He said, they're assholes. So I said, yes, sir. Yeah. So he said, don't worry about it. He said, they know it ain't a prank. They just don't want to deal with it, what it is. And he said, they don't want to get nothing started. And he said, you know, so, you know, he said, you know, don't worry about it. You've done a good job. He said, you got some good pictures. You got good, some good information from the witnesses. He said, Mark, there's boogers. And if y'all notice, that's how close I was to Childersburg. I just came into downtown. That's how close that booger, if that's what that was, and I'm pretty sure it was. I looked around for tracks, did not find any tracks. I did find kind of a trail back there. I did find a trail, and so that was interesting. Pretty good sized trail going into those woods, and those are some thick woods there. There's a railroad backs up on the back side, and you can walk that railroad and be to the river. And when me and Mr. Bill was talking about it, he said that booger, he said there's probably several of them there. He said they done found them an easy home. They're getting, probably eating the cat food and dog food off people's porches. And then they got access to the creek, access to the river in 2 different points there on the railroad. He said they found them a little honey hole. And he said there's probably a little family of them living right there. And of course, later on, Adam would let me know about, what happened with him kayaking on the creek. And then later on is when I heard about the 2 fishermen. The other fisherman, I didn't get a very good detail about it. I just heard that a guy was up there fishing and, seen what he thought was a Bigfoot down on the bank. I never have heard anything else from that area. I've paid attention to it. I have a cousin that lives close to that area. I've asked him if he's heard anything. He said no. Like I said, it's a big field right there. One year they have cotton in it, one year corn, one year soybeans. They rotate it. You got 2 big creeks and the river right there close by, with woods all around in different spots. If you go back up the Tallahatchie Creek, you'll come pretty close to where I live. A lot of woods, a lot of other big creeks coming in, a lot of farmland back up that creek. Yeah. In my opinion, there's some boogers live right there. If they're still there now, I do not know. They could have done moved on. But I don't think they would, as long as they wasn't nothing bothering them. I wouldn't see them leaving. But I just wanted to tell you about them too, because I know a lot of people want to think these things were way out deep in the woods. These things live right by people. They're visiting subdivisions and neighborhoods. I mean, just like where I live out, but I have neighbors. They're coming up to my place. There's other tons and tons of people that live in places where there's a lot of people, and they're seeing. They're popping up, seeing them. I told you about close to Birmingham in the Liberty Park community, right there on the Cahaba River, a big fancy subdivision, and they had boogers there. And the boogers was coming up there at night. And I went up there and verified they were there, found tracks, heard vocals, heard wood knocks, talked to the whole neighborhood, just about everybody in the neighborhood had seen them at one time or not. One lady found her dog dead in the backyard. So, they're around homes. Just because somebody lives in a big neighborhood or around a bunch of big fields, and I'll tell you one thing that got me to tell you this morning, because I hadn't planned on doing this video yet, but it just last night I was talking to somebody. I'm not going to name their name. I went and looked on Google Earth at their property because they're hearing some stuff, and they live in a pretty populated area, but I seen signs of where they could be coming from, or where they could be hearing them vocals from. And it's right there. There's a river close by, Same scenario as this right here in Childersburg. I mean, it's the same scenario. You got a river right there. You got wetland. You got farmland. You got a little town right above it. And I mean, it's almost the same scenario going on here. Almost. I mean, they hadn't seen nothing, but they're hearing stuff. Well, up here they were seeing stuff. They just wasn't hearing nothing. The booger was very quiet because I asked the lady, has she ever heard any kind of weird sounds at night? And she said, no, she hasn't. And, you know, the two guys, and I asked her if she smelled anything. She said, no, sir. She said, I never smelled nothing. She didn't go out there. You know, the both times she did not go out the door. You know, she called the law. And, you know, of course, the law, you know, they just wanted to, you know, say it's somebody pranking. You know, I think about that at times. I said, you know, here we are in July, and you're going to sit out there on the side of the highway. Now, don't tell me, I know some people's probably done it. I ain't going to say they hadn't. I'm not going to say that the hadn't took place, because there's a very good possibility. But see, them three guys did not know that I'd done worked a sighting there. You know, so I don't think there was somebody coming up on her porch eating cat food in a monkey suit. I just don't see that happening. I mean, it's a possibility, but I just don't see it happen, because this lady was terrified. She was not happy about it. I don't know who would be. And sorry about the sun, y'all. I'm just about home. But I mean, to me, the sign was there. There's a big trail in her coming into her backyard. She had cat food on the porch. Perfect scenario. 3 workers 2 months later see him cross the road. Probably the same one. Probably going up there to get cat food from one of the houses. And he may have not visited every house every night. He may go to different houses, you know, to keep a low profile. And some of the other people lived up there may have seen him or had stuff happen and just kept their mouth shut. You know, and I could have probably went knocking on each door, but I don't know how that went, you know. So, and so I'm pretty sure with all, I mean, you got 2 creeks, you got the river, you got row crop, you got some houses, you got a railroad sitting there. Not far from there is a big set of woods. You can go back up both creeks and you get into some big woods. I mean, to me, perfect scenario. Water, food, cover, humans not paying much attention. Live right up under their nose. Getting food pretty easy. I mean, getting food probably from the row crop fields, getting fish out of the river and the creeks, probably catching what animals they could catch, and then free food up on the back porches where people's feeding their dogs and cats. So, and you know, I just, in my brain, what I was thinking, not a prank, the real thing. But the 2 fishermen, you know, I couldn't verify it, but the 2 fishermen seeing something. And also, this not being far from the grist mill, maybe 4 miles. Coming back toward Tallahatchie Creek toward me is probably 6 miles, maybe 7. Nothing for them. Y'all seen how quick I got home from Childersburg. I only live 6 miles from Childersburg, I think, which that's coming down, you know, US 280. So anyway, just wanted to run that by you. You know, first thing, they do come to people's houses, and if there's a food source there, they do grab a hold of it. Number 2, because you live in a populated area right next to a small town, doesn't mean they're not gonna show up. I mean, look, y'all seen the pictures I got from my corn patch. I mean, I got neighbors close to me. Yeah, I got a lot of woods to the north of me, east of me. And then, of course, Creepy Mountain's only 2.5 miles away to the southwest. So, you know, they come in. I've heard tale after tale after tale. East side of Sylacauga, 1 mile from downtown Sylacauga, multiple sightings by a family over the years, right there at town. A few years later, I get some more reports about 1 mile away to the north. I told y'all about one of the sightings, you know, a guy I worked with, you know, him and his nephews, you know, one of them duck hunting, one of them deer hunting, and they see one peeping around a tree at them. So, I mean, you know, it is all coming together. You know, we found footprints at that one, and you know, and these people who lived out there on the east side of Sylacauga, 1 mile away from town, seeing them come up under the street lights at night, seeing them in the bushes. I mean, you know, just so don't let that, because you think you live in town or you live in a subdivision or a neighborhood or wherever, doesn't mean these things won't come through. They might not live there all the time, but they may pass through. Food sources, gardens, garbage cans, dog and cat food. I mean, I even hate to say it, the dogs and cats is food. And also, you get a lot of wildlife around neighborhoods because they come up looking for food. Coons, possums, coyotes, usually have rabbits. Food source. And so I just want to tell you about that this morning. Give you a little history of Childersburg. Pretty unique little town. You know, if you know, could be the oldest European settlement in the United States. I know the Vikings, you know, settled Canada, probably. You know, also DeSoto, when he came, you know, was that 1542 or 1540. You know, then when they done those digs up there, they found, you know, Spanish stuff. You know, then of course the town of Coosa. You know, I know there's them in Rome, Georgia, fuss a little bit, or used to fuss. I don't think nobody's fussing about it no more. But Childersburg does fit the description better than what I heard in Rome, Georgia area. So, if according to them, the Coosas, they wasn't creeks. They probably more what you'd call the Mississippian culture. Them and then of course later on when the creeks did, you know, when that bunch, you know, of Native Americans started moving this way, you know, they all formed a Creek Confederacy, which I think was in the 1700s, early 1700s. Also, we had a bunch of Shawnee come in here in the 1700s from the Ohio Valley area. Don't really know why they came down here. I think they ended up, probably ended up marrying into the creeks. That's where Sylacauga actually gets its name, which means place of the Choccolocca tribe, which is Choccolocca is Shawnee. Of course, Sylacauga in Creek means buzzard's roost. So, you know, but they said that about, I think, 50, 60 Shawnee settled in here, and they probably ended married with the Creeks. Probably the Creeks took them in. But the Choccolocca, you know, place of the Choccolocca tribe. And they say Choccolocca comes from Shawnee, where Sylacauga actually comes from, Creek, Indian. Now, Childersburg was named after a European, Mr. Childers, so that's how it got its name. So I gave you a little bit of history of Childersburg. Gave you some Bigfoot sightings from Childersburg. So we got a little history and Bigfoot mixed in with it. I hope you enjoyed this. Hadn't planned on doing that this morning. Had a whole different thing I was going to do. But after last night seeing something that just kind of jogged my brain, I said, it's a good time to talk about this. And this may help that other person out too when they see it or if they watch the video. So, anyway, me and Rebecca have our live. It's coming up Friday night at 7. I don't know what plant we're going to talk about. It may be talking about sweet potato. Let's see. Next week, I've got to call and check and see if my friend's still going to be able to do a live. If he's not, maybe hitting one of y'all up to come on next Friday night. So be ready. You might get a message from me. And of course, if you don't, I'm not going to pressure nobody on that. Remember, I want y'all to remember one thing. The lives are not really about Bigfoot when I have a guest on. Even though we'll probably get into that subject, or Dogman or UFOs, whatever they experienced. When I have people on, it's really about I want to learn about them, and y'all learn about them. Because we're coming together as a family. I feel that we're a family. I know most of y'all I haven't met, but I really enjoy when y'all come in on Friday nights on the chat and we just talk about normal things as humans, because I want us to focus on us, not the boogers. And why I say that, I don't want to give the boogers glory. I hate to say that, but that's what I just don't do. To me, it's about people. It's about our experiences, but also I want to get to know you. Now, I don't want to know everything about you personally. I mean, you know what I'm getting at. It's not to find out, what kind of person is this. We want to learn who you are, what your hobbies are, what you enjoy, just who you are as a person. And you ain't got to tell nothing you don't want to tell. What I'm saying is, I want people to get to know each other and to build this community. There's a lot going on in the paranormal, I guess you call it the cryptid, whatever you want to call it, world. Paranormal, UFO. I know some people don't like to use cryptid, and I understand why, because cryptid just means unknown animal. These things are not all animal. They got some spirituality to them too, and of course y'all know which way I lean on that. One day I'll come out and really talk about that. I just try to not get it stirred up too much yet. And I still need to have a good video on about aliens and give you my opinion, what they are and what they're doing. And I think the Bigfoot and Dogman and some of these other things are connected with them. How? I don't really know, but they are connected. Paranormal. Ghost, orbs. I think all this stuff is somehow connected. I think some of us are starting to put some dots together. Of course, when we put dots together, we open a bigger can of worms, So, anyway, but I want this, I know our channel's slowly growing, and I've told you I didn't really want it to grow too big, because I like it the way it is right now, because I can interact with everybody. I get emails from people, and I really appreciate that. I get messages, I really appreciate that. I've received a few, encounters through email. And if any of you, want to send me your encounter or talk to me about your encounter or sighting, and it doesn't have to be just Bigfoot. If you've seen UFO, or if you've had, ghosts or orbs or, any of that stuff, and you'd like to talk to me about it, we'll talk about it. And, it'll be held confidential. unless you want it published. Because, I'm about telling the truth about these things exist. All these things exist. They have a purpose that they're doing. Not knocking nobody's flesh and blood. It's the way you believe, that's fine. I started off that way too. I've just seen too many things evolve since 2007 that tells me different to me. But it may not be to you, and I don't knock nobody's flesh and blood. And I'm not going to down you, because that's not Christian. Because we're supposed to follow Christ's second command, well, first and second command that goes along with the 10 Commandments. And that's to love one another and try to get along best we can and try to work out our differences. Because remember, Christ says he will not forgive your sins unless you forgive your brother his sins. And I'm not trying to preach this morning, but what I'm trying to say doesn't mean you have to like the person, don't mean you have to contact them. But if somehow or another you've got to make those means to get yourself forgiven. So you've got to, that's what Christ says. I'm sorry, but that's what he says. Try to go to your brother and make up, Now he does say after a certain while, if it don't work, then ain't much else you can do, I know a lot of times in life we get into squabbles with people, and people we don't know and people we do know. And I know hard feelings get going, and I mean, I agree, it's tough. It's tough to forgive, it's tough to forget. I agree, it's that flesh in us. So, I don't mean to get to preaching this morning. I just see some stuff going on that I hate to see happen. And, but I will say this. I will take up for family and friends when I think stuff's really going on that I need to take up for. I will do my research to make sure before I come flying out, what's going on. And every one of us should do that. We shouldn't fly off on the handle till we know exactly what is going on. And but always remember, love one another as Christ commanded. And that was a command. He wouldn't say, if you want to. He pretty much come out and said it. And he showed how to do it. He showed that every day. And yes, he did get ill at times. Yes, he did. He gave the Pharisees fits. But you have to go see why he gave the Pharisee fits. They were using the law to put people under bondage. And they were making money off of the people, and they wasn't doing very good. When he went in the temple, his whole thing about when he disrupted the temple, when he got angry about it, was because they were defiling his father's house by making profit. So, hold on a minute. Sorry about that, folks. Rebecca was wondering why I was sitting in the driveway. So, told her, I said, well, I'm finishing up my video. She said, oh, okay. I think sister's up at the door wanting to know why I'm sitting here too. So, but also, y'all remember to pray for people in our community. Also pray for your family, your friends. We got, in our community, we have some people that have some problems going on. Greg House. Y'all remember him in prayer. Y'all remember Crystal in prayer. I'm not going I don't know what the whole situation is there, and I'm not wanting to pry in her stuff, but y'all be praying for Crystal for what she's got going on. Pray for Mr. Mark. He had his surgery a few weeks ago. Seemed like he's doing better. So y'all keep praying for him. There's other people in our community, not just, in our Bigfoot community, is having health issues. So y'all remember that. Also, remember your family, your own family and your own friends, and your church members or co-workers. Pray for each other. Prayer is a powerful thing. The Lord listens to people when they really pray, and they pray sincerely. He will listen. So, not saying He's going to solve that problem. Sometimes He don't. Don't know why. But He does listen, and He is a faithful and just God. So, so anytime you can pray for somebody, please do. Try to remember them. If you know somebody's having a hard time and you got time, send them a little text. Just tell them you're thinking about them. A message. If you got time to call them on the phone, but do that. You don't know how much that means to people when you call them and give them encouragement, talk to them a few minutes, because we don't know what everybody's going through. Pray for the Bigfoot community, that people in the Bigfoot community turn toward God for their answers for this, and not to let jealousy, envy, all this stuff enter into the picture. I know it's hard sometimes. I know we see people as probably hoaxing, and we want to call them out. Be careful how you call them out. I don't see a problem calling them out. Just be careful how you do it. There's God's way of doing it, and then there's Satan's way of doing it. Because he likes to stir up stuff. He loves confusion. That's how he gets away with a lot of his deception. So, and here I go preaching again. But sometimes I feel on my heart I need to say this. No, I'm not perfect either. Lord knows I struggle a lot of days. I'm not going to lie to you one bit. I struggle. Because I am in the flesh too. But I know the Spirit's a lot stronger, and I have to look to the Holy Spirit, to help me. All of us do. So, well, I know this has got a little long-winded, but I did want to, tell y'all about that and give you a little insight into that. One of these days, I will do the Sylacauga one, and hopefully I can get some more hunting club members to come tell their stuff. Right now, I'm not really getting in the woods much. If I am, it's more hunting. Plus, I got to help a cousin of mine do some stuff. Plus, I got stuff to do here. So I don't know if I'll be doing any outings in the next few weeks. If I do, I might go up on a hunting club one night or sit or something. I'd love to do some more lives from the hunting club. Just have to play it by ear and see. Sometimes I wish I had time to get in the woods to show y'all a lot of stuff, but it's hard for me too, working a job, trying to truck farm or whatever you want to call it, being a councilman, and all the other stuff, being a husband, being a father. I always remember, God comes first in your family, and then pretty much your livelihood, then other stuff comes in. So, anyway, I'm going to get off that soapbox. But always remember, if you have a problem with a brother or a sister, go to them and try to solve it if you can. Try to solve it if you can. But sometimes you end up having to bow up and do some fussing. I hate it. But do it right. There's ways that you can go about it that's right, and it's right. So always remember that. That you can solve problems. Because in the end, we all should be trying to help each other, coming together as a family, and getting the word out there. These things exist, and these other things exist, and these things are probably not good. I'm gonna just say that they're not good. All right, let's see. Y'all remember everybody we support. Spencer Misty with Woodwalkers, Chris Reinhardt with Discover Sasquatch, Squatch and Holler, Roger over at Squatch and Holler, Beast Guys, Mark and Larry, Mr. Barton Nunley. I hadn't checked on Kyle from Encrypted Connections lately, but I need to go see what's going on. And there's some other good ones out there. I mean, don't get me wrong. And y'all notice I kind of try to support the smaller people, not down in the bigger ones. Some of them have some good channels. I try to promote the smaller people like me. Because sometimes I wonder if we can get the information out too. 'Cause even though we're small, we can get stuff out there too, and I mean, that's why I love the chats right now. They're small. We usually have 25, 30, 40, somewhere in that neighborhood. I love that because I can interact with everybody. I can keep up with it. Not knocking down these bigger channels, but when they get these 300 and 400 people in the chat, I mean, yeah, it's nice, but I mean, it goes through so fast. And if you do have a question, or if you're trying to relay something, it gets lost real quick. And I'm not knocking bigger channels, so please don't take it that way. I mean, but that's, some of the stuff I see. And it gets harder for those people to reply back to those people. When you start getting them big, a lot of comments, it's hard to reply back to everybody. So, and that's why I like it the way it is now. I can reply back. I can, get in the chat with you and enjoy it. So, anyway, and remember the folks on Facebook, Miss Bama, Flat Rock, Misty and Sherry and her family with the SAS group, Mr. Barry Browning. Lord, I can't think of the name of it right now. Sorry about that, Barry, if you listen to this. My brain's kind of going blank. Mr. Barton Nunley has a web page. Facebook. There's another group, Bigfoot Believers, that Daryl Denton and some others started. They have some good, interesting stuff on there. It's on Facebook. Y'all go check him out. There's some good stuff comes across there. Some good pictures. And there's just a lot of other good people out there. Mr. Mateo with Boogerville. I hope I ain't forgetting anybody. Night Callers. And there's some others. One guy called Wood Boogers up there in Kentucky. They had some pretty good stuff every now and then. And of course, on the homesteading side, of course, Mr. Danny and Miss Wanda at Deep South Homestead. I've been telling y'all he has a Tuesday morning porch time. Y'all if anything else, go try to listen to that. He always has good information about what's going on. Not politically, he does hit that a little bit, but he gets more into what's going on the earth with weather. A lot of stuff that a lot of people don't talk about. So, try to make time and go listen to him. And of course, Perma Pastures, Holler Homestead. If you really want to get more into homesteading, they show a lot of good stuff. And there's some other good ones out there. I need to start promoting some of them that's really doing some good stuff. That way it'll help y'all find people if you go in this direction of, preserving food, trying to prepare for hard times, because I hate to say it, they're probably coming. I've been feeling this since about 2015. sooner or later, well, I mean, we're getting in some hard times now. So, all right, I'm going to shut up and get off here. So let me say a little short prayer. Lord, thank you for all the many blessings you give us every day and everything you do for us and taking care of us, being patient with us, Lord, and forgiving us and being just and loving. Thank you, Lord, for your Son that you let come to earth to be our sacrifice. That was the ultimate sacrifice. And thank you, Lord, for sending the Holy Spirit to counsel us and to convict our hearts when we're doing wrong. Lord, forgive us for our sins and help us go to our brother and forgive them and to try to, make amends if we can. But Lord, if we have to bow up and, fuss or fight, Lord, help us do it the right way, the way you'd want us to do it to solve that issue. Lord, thank you for everything, and be with everyone. Lord, it's whatever problem they're having, sickness, health problems, financial, drama in their life, whatever it be, Lord. Satan attacking them left and right. Be with them, Lord. Protect them. Be with us all, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, I appreciate everybody being on. I appreciate y'all supporting me and Rebecca, being kind to us, the kind words y'all say. Thank you for the new people that's come in, but also I'm going to always thank the people that's been with me since the start. And y'all come join us Friday night. Hope to have a good live. Next week, of course, I have another video. Don't know what it'll be. And I kind of like it that way because then nobody knows what I'm doing. So that way I keep hoaxers away from me better. So don't know anything else going on. So y'all hope you have a good rest of the week. Love one another, get along, forgive one another, be kind because it don't cost nothing. Try to solve your issues with other people if you can. I know sometimes it's hard to, but with the Lord's help, all things are possible. So anyway, love y'all. Talk with you later. This is Martin, Cedar Creek Bottoms with another fireside chat. I always get tongue-tied. Y'all have a good one. Bye-bye.